wanted to do some notes with you today about the Cnidarians, what you saw in the video. So if you guys go to Classroom, you will see I posted invertebrate notes. It's a Google Slides. Go ahead and open that, and we'll go over it together. We talked a little bit already about coral when we did coral reefs. Now we're going to take a look at what the group Cnidarian means and what characteristics they have and who is in this group. Let me just make a copy of this real quick. All right, so I just want to also tell you guys that we're going to take a look at all the invertebrates over the next several weeks. So this slideshow is all of the invertebrates we're going to talk about over the next several weeks, but we're only going to focus today on slides 1 and 2. And then at the end of the week, we'll move on to phylum Peripheral, which is the sponges, and then talk about 3 and 4 and so on. At the beginning of each invertebrate group, we will take a look at the video and watch the episode on that particular group. So phylum Cnidaria, as we have mentioned, it includes the coral, jellyfish, and anemones. This is the stinging tentacles group. This is the group that has the stinging tentacles, as we've talked about. You guys can make your slideshow however you want. I am going to just do a couple formatting here to make it all fit on a page. You guys can change yours however you want. You're not going to turn this into me. This is just for your notes. But we'll do it together. In this box here that I am going to color blue, we're going to put in some characteristics of the whole group. But first, let's take a look at who the Cnidarians are. So if you want to pull some pictures in, remember we talked about coral. We also saw in the video jellyfish and anemones. So all 3 of them are in phylum Cnidaria. They all have stinging tentacles. What I like to do is if you right-click on a word and explore, it actually brings up Google over here. And you can then, why it does that? You can then type in jellyfish, for example, and then images. Find a picture you like. You can pull in any picture you want. I'm going to do this picture. And so you just click and drag it over. And then, of course, you can shrink it so it fits on your page. I'm going to also do sea anemone. And you can drag that image over, pick one you like. I'm going to do this one, and then the coral polyp. You can do that, and then I'm going to shrink this so it fits on a page. And then the jellyfish, we'll fix the formatting here in a minute. So you guys can write down who is in this group, or you can pull in pictures. You do need to know who the Cnidarians are. And you'll need to know who is in each phylum as we talk about the different phylum groups. All right, I'm going to exit out of that since we don't need it anymore. We have our jellyfish. We'll start with coral. And then anemone here I'm putting in the middle. So just to show you, I'm going to type it out. This is our coral. We have anemone here in the center. And then the jellyfish here at the end. So you can organize yours however you want. I'm going to leave mine here because I'm going to put in a table underneath here that talks about each of them. All right, so let's take a look over here in the blue box about what characteristics they have in common. So this is the stinging tentacle group. So obviously they're going to have stinging tentacles. And if you remember, those tentacles are called the nematocysts. And we'll see more about that here in a minute. Remember, we also mentioned when we were doing coral that they have only one opening. It's the mouth. So that is where food is going to enter, as well as waste will exit here. Stomach for digestion, and then waste exit the mouth. Now, in the video, you saw a couple of anemones fighting. You saw when the starfish touched the anemone, it reacted to that stimulus. They don't have a brain. What they do have in this group in general is what's called a nerve net. It's basically a bunch of nerve cells that responds to stimuli. So they have a nerve net. This causes the muscles to contract. Now, if you also remember, we talked about coral a week or so ago, in that the polyps do not move. But on the other hand, we do see movement with the jellyfish. So some can move, some cannot. Another thing when we're talking about each invertebrate group, along with, the basics, how do they move, how do they eat, how do they defend themselves, is what kind of symmetry do they have? So when we talk about symmetry, what kind of body shape do they have? So if you look at these guys, they all have a circular or round body shape. So we call that radial symmetry, circular. And we'll see another invertebrate group that has that as well. All right, so now what I'm going to do is go up to table, insert table, and I'm going to do a 3x2 table. And this is going to now be comparing the three coral, anemones, and jellyfish, and how they are different from each other. So the box that's blue that we just filled out is what they all have in common. Here's what is going to be all different. And I'm going to do this one green. So as we've mentioned a couple times now, I'm going to just shrink these a little bit so we have more room. That coral do not move. In the video you saw, the anemones typically don't move, but can move, especially when they're fighting for territory and one has to leave, or if a predator is coming for them, some can move away from that predator, but typically they don't. So they do not move, coral. We call that sessile when they live attached. Anemones are usually sedentary, so they live attached, but some can move, and we know that jellyfish do move. It's a pulsating motion. The structure. So we talked about with the first group who did their presentations, the structure of coral is a polyp. And so what that means is that the tentacles are facing upward. We see that in the anemone as well. The tentacles are facing upward. In jellyfish, you'll notice that the tentacles, my jellyfish is turned around. If I switch it, what you would normally see it as, like that, you'll notice the tentacles are downward. This is called a medusa. The tentacles face downward. And we'll talk more about that with the life cycle in a minute. We also mentioned that coral, because they build reefs, they live in colonies or groups. Anemones do not, they live alone. So that is another difference between coral and anemones. And jellyfish can be found together. Basically, jellyfish and anemones are pretty much all water, so they're very squishy. Coral has that calcium carbonate skeleton, and we know that is what makes up the reef. So they have a hard skeleton, a calcium carbonate or limestone, and anemones and jellyfish are both squishy, made of water. All right, and that is it for this slide. On slide 2, you don't need to actually write anything down. I am going to stop this recording right now since I'm running out of time, and I will come back with a second video for slide 2.